For Libra, there is something very difficult to explain with logic, but easy to feel with the heart. It is the sense that you are not truly aging, even as time moves forward like it does for everyone else. There are mornings when you look at yourself in the mirror and suddenly notice that your eyes are not older, only deeper. Not more tired, just quieter. And in that very ordinary moment, a gentle truth begins to reveal itself. You are not growing old. You are changing the frequency of how you live. Libra does not live only through the body. You live through inner resonance. While others race to keep up with the clock, you listen to the rhythm of your own heartbeat. When the outside world becomes loud and rushed, you instinctively slow yourself down, becoming more refined, more subtle, more light. Time may pass over the skin, but it cannot reach the deepest place where you live. There, you are not being pulled downward. You are being lifted, quietly, through changes so subtle they are almost invisible. There were years when Libra felt as if something was being lost. Innocence, old relationships, versions of yourself that once felt familiar. But the truth is, nothing was taken from you. You were shedding, like a leaf that cannot remain on the branch forever if it wishes to make space for a new season. With every layer that falls away, you become lighter. Each time you release a belief that no longer fits, a role that is no longer necessary, your energy grows clearer. This is not decline. This is refinement. Libra matures in a way that is uniquely your own. You do not become hardened, dry, or numb. You become softer, deeper, more perceptive. You begin to understand that not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every sadness needs to be fixed. Some things only need to be heard, set down gently, and allowed to dissolve into understanding. And when you allow yourself to live this way, your body responds. Your shoulders relax. Your face softens. Your presence shifts into something others may struggle to name, but instantly recognize. Have you noticed how some Libras seem to grow younger with age, in a way that feels different? Not the youth of makeup or trying to hold on, but the youth of someone no longer stretched thin by inner conflict. Young because they no longer force themselves to fit everywhere. Young because they have learned how to balance giving with keeping something for themselves. Young because they no longer live in fragmentation, but in alignment, where emotion, thought, and soul move together. Time respects those who live true to their own frequency. When you stop resisting change, when you no longer see growing older as loss, but as an unfolding, time softens toward you. It does not take your light. It sharpens it, deepens it, strengthens it. And in that quiet space, when Libra realizes there is no need to move faster, no need to try harder to be seen, something very different begins to emerge, as if something inside you is slowly waking up. A flame that does not roar, but glows, warm enough to illuminate old shadows, steady enough to remain, gentle enough to never harm any part of you. You do not need to name it yet. Just feel it, because from this moment on, your story begins to carry a very different kind of light. That light does not appear when everything is easy. It arrives after long stretches of time that Libra had to walk through in silence, carrying things that were never truly yours. There were years when you woke up with a heaviness in your chest that you could not name. Not because life was too cruel, but because you had grown used to holding emotions that others did not know how to carry themselves. You listened too much. You understood too deeply. And without realizing it, your heart became a resting place for the exhaustion of the world around you. Libra has a rare ability. You can sense imbalance even when everything on the surface looks fine. You feel the sadness behind someone's smile. You notice the anxiety hidden beneath ordinary words. And because you do not want to disturb the peace, you choose to keep it. You keep it in your heart. You keep it in your body. You keep it through long nights when you tell no one how tired you truly are. There are moments when you wonder why you feel so drained, even though you are not doing anything physically demanding. The truth is, you lived too long as the one who held everything together for everyone else, except yourself. You learned how to swallow emotions before they had names. You learned how to smile while everything inside was in disorder. You learned how to stay in relationships that slowly emptied your energy because you did not want anyone else to feel pain. And over time, that quiet endurance became a slow burning fire. That fire did not destroy you. It burned away old layers. It burned the belief that you must sacrifice yourself to be worthy of love. It burned the idea that your value depends on pleasing everyone. Each time you reached the edge of exhaustion, each time you touched the bottom of silence, the old version of you lost its place to stand. And even if you did not realize it then, those moments that felt like weakness were clearing a path for something very powerful within you. Libra does not awaken like a lightning strike. You awaken through understanding. Through the realization that if you continue living the same way, you will lose yourself. Through the first honest permission to admit that you also need care, that you need rest, that you need to be heard. And when you begin to return to yourself, even just a little, something subtle changes. You stop absorbing every emotion that passes by. You begin to choose. You begin to distinguish what is yours and what belongs to others. That is when your body grows lighter, your breath deepens, your eyes soften. People on the outside may never know what you have lived through. They only see that you seem younger, calmer, less shaken by small disruptions. But inside, you know the cost of this peace. It was built from many nights of facing yourself, from many moments of releasing what once held you in pain, from many choices to be honest with your feelings instead of continuing to endure in silence. You are not young because life favored you. You are young because you dared to go deep inside yourself, to a place not everyone has the courage to enter. And at that depth, a very different kind of energy begins to move. No longer the effort to balance everything outside of you, but a steadiness that rises from within. As if something is being lit, very softly, very warmly, just enough to illuminate the ground beneath your feet. You do not need to understand it all yet. Just stay with this feeling a little longer. Because from here on, what is awakening inside you will be unlike anything you have ever experienced before. It does not arrive as an explosion. There are no loud signs for you to recognize right away, just an ordinary morning, when you suddenly notice that you no longer react the way you used to. Things that once shook you deeply now brush past you and move on. Words that once tightened your chest no longer stay as long. Not because you have become cold, but because something inside you has found a different anchor. An anchor that is warm, steady, and real. That flame has been there for a long time. It lives in the moments when you chose silence over argument. In the times you stepped back to preserve peace. In the nights you questioned yourself, wondering where things went wrong when balance was lost. But only when you became tired enough, when you felt enough, when you finally stopped pushing, did that flame allow itself to be touched. Not through effort, but through permission. Permission to stop holding everything together. Permission to stop becoming the agreeable version of yourself for everyone else. When this flame is activated, Libra begins to experience life through a different rhythm. You no longer chase balance in the outside world. Balance begins to form within you. And strangely, when the inside becomes steady, the outside softens on its own. Relationships grow clearer. Decisions stop tearing you apart. You know when to stay. You know when to walk away, without needing to explain yourself to anyone. This flame does not ask you to change who you are. It only removes what is no longer you. The roles that once exhausted you begin to fall away. Expectations that never belonged to you become weightless the moment you set them down. And in that open space, your true nature begins to appear. A Libra who is still refined, but no longer self-wounding. A Libra who still values harmony, but no longer trades inner peace to maintain it. You can feel this shift clearly in your body. Your breath deepens. Your sleep grows calmer. The way you walk, the way you sit alone, now carries full presence. Time no longer drains your energy the way it once did. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, becomes fuel, helping the flame burn steadier, brighter. You are no longer worn down. You are renewed by everything you have lived through. Some people look at Libra during this phase and cannot understand why you seem so light. They do not see that this lightness was built from countless moments of letting go at the right time. From learning not to carry burdens that were never yours. From choosing emotional honesty instead of suppressing yourself to preserve outer balance. And it is this honesty that gives off a very different kind of energy. Not loud, not performative, not needing proof, but enough for others to feel safe simply being near you. Libra's spiritual flame does not burn the world. It warms you first. It teaches you that there is no need to rush. No need to look younger by anyone else's standard. When you live true to your own rhythm, time adjusts itself to walk beside you. And within that harmony, you begin to realize something profound. Youth is not something to be held on to. It is a natural result of a soul living in alignment, being nourished, and slowly opening to receive what it truly deserves. And when that door opens, very gently, Libra begins to notice another important shift. You no longer feel the urge to please everyone. Not because you have become indifferent, but because you have stopped forgetting yourself while trying to keep balance for others. For a long time, you were used to adjusting yourself to fitting into your family's expectations, fitting into the rhythm of your work, fitting into the emotions of the people you love. You were so perceptive that you could sense the slightest imbalance in a room and immediately feel the need to correct it. But what few people realized was that each time you leaned that way, a small part of your energy quietly slipped away. No noise, no visible trace. Just a little more exhaustion after every effort. Then one day, an ordinary day, you stopped, not because of a dramatic decision, but because of a very real feeling in your chest. You realized you no longer had the strength to keep being the bridge for unbalanced relationships. No more energy to explain, to smooth things over, to endure what made your heart tighten. And for the first time, you chose silence in a different way. Not silence to suppress yourself, but silence to listen inward. That moment, though subtle, became a deep turning point. When you stopped placing external approval above inner peace, your body responded immediately. Your shoulders relaxed. Your breath slowed. Your eyes no longer scanned the room for permission to be yourself. You began to fully arrive in each moment, instead of constantly preparing to adjust. Libra does not grow younger by holding on to anything. You grow younger because you stop draining your energy into unbalanced connections. When you no longer have to tense yourself to preserve harmony, that energy returns to nourish you. It feeds your skin. It softens your gaze. It changes the way you enter a room. A different kind of softness appears. Not weakness, but strength that does not need defense. Others may not be able to name this change, but they feel it. They sense your calm, your clarity, your natural boundaries, spoken without words. You no longer try to be liked, and because of that, you become more trustworthy. The balance you once searched for outside now lives within you. It does not sway with praise or criticism. It stays steady, like a grounded axis. There is something deeply human about this transformation. When Libra lives in truth, you do more than save yourself from exhaustion. You quietly teach others something essential. That love does not require self-sacrifice. That real harmony exists only when people are allowed to be themselves. That kindness begins by not betraying your own feelings. And within that respectful silence, you begin to notice your relationships changing as well. Those who cannot meet your boundaries may slowly drift away. But those who truly resonate draw closer, with ease, without effort. You have not lost anything. You have simply reorganized your inner space to match your true frequency. There are afternoons when you sit alone and no longer feel the emptiness you once feared. Instead, there is a strange sense of fullness, as if you have finally returned to the right place. And within that fullness, something new begins to move. Not the pressure to prove your worth, but the quiet knowing that you deserve to receive, in balance, what you have given. That flow, slow, gentle, is finding its way toward you. You do not need to chase it. Just remain in this steadiness. And feel how it begins to show up in your breath, in your choices, in the way you place each step forward. And when you remain in that state long enough, something important begins to shift. You suddenly understand that your worth was never tied to pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. It has always been there, quiet, steady, waiting for you to look at it directly and acknowledge it. For a long time, Libra grew accustomed to giving more than receiving. Not only in love, but in work, in how you offered your energy, your time, your sensitivity. You believed that if you tried hard enough, if you became better, softer, more understanding, abundance would eventually find its way to you. But the truth is, when you give from a place of depletion, the flow is always distorted. Not because you are unworthy, but because you unknowingly placed your value below what it truly is. When awakening happens, very gently, the way you see money begins to change. You no longer view it as something that must be chased through tension or self-sacrifice. You begin to sense money as a form of energetic response. When you live in alignment, when you set clear boundaries, when you give from inner fullness, the flow becomes natural, unrushed, unforced, yet steady and ordered. Libra starts to realize that true value does not need to be proven through overwork. It shows itself through your presence, through the balance you bring into a space, through the refinement you offer, selectively, with intention. When you respect yourself, the outside world responds with matching respect. It may arrive as more suitable opportunities, as gentler collaborations, as sources of income connected to work you do in peace, rather than exhaustion. This kind of abundance is not loud. It does not arrive as a sudden leap. It comes like warm water, flowing steadily, bringing a sense of safety. You worry less about tomorrow, because you trust your ability to recalibrate yourself. And that sense of safety changes everything. When you no longer live in fear of lack, your body relaxes. When you stop forcing yourself to keep up, your mind grows lighter. And when the inside becomes light, youthfulness appears as a natural result. You notice it in the smallest details. The way you spend money no longer carries guilt. The way you receive no longer needs justification. You allow yourself to enjoy what you deserve without apology. You stop comparing your path to anyone else's. You understand that everyone has their own rhythm, and yours is harmony, not speed. There is something deeply beautiful in this transformation. When Libra lives in true value, you become a living example of healthy balance between giving and receiving. You remind the world that abundance does not require burnout. That success does not have to come with constant tension. That when people live with self-respect, that respect naturally spreads into the community around them. And within this renewed flow, you begin to feel a different kind of lightness, as if life is no longer asking you to brace yourself. Things arrive with discernment, with rhythm, with unseen support. You do not need to grip tightly. You only need to open your hands just enough. And when you open in this way, not only does money find its path to you, but trust in life returns as well. Very slowly, very gently, but enough for you to know that you are moving in the right direction, within a balance that continues to deepen and endure. And when that balance is no longer something you have to hold together, but becomes your natural state, something very quiet begins to happen. Certain things in your life gently come to a close. Without announcements, without dramatic moments, without witnesses, they simply are no longer there. Like a door that had already been closed for a long time, and only now you realize you are no longer standing in front of it. Libra has always had a way of sensing when a cycle has reached its end. Not through logic, but through a subtle feeling deep inside. You begin to notice that conversations once familiar no longer hold your interest. That roles you once stretched yourself to play no longer feel necessary. That you no longer want to explain why you need to change. Everything happens so gently that even you are surprised. No pain, no regret. Just a deep understanding that it is time to set something down. Those old roles once helped you survive a certain chapter. You were the mediator, the one who endured, the one who yielded, the one who kept everything from falling apart. But when survival no longer requires that shape, those roles begin to feel tight. Not wrong, just no longer fitting. And instead of resisting, you let go. You let go with dignity toward yourself. No resentment toward the past. No denial of who you once were. There is a special kind of beauty in the way Libra closes a cycle. You do not slam doors. You close them with understanding. By recognizing that you have learned the lessons you came to learn. By allowing expectations that were never yours to return to where they belong. When you stop carrying those weights, your soul grows so light that your body begins to reflect it. You sleep more deeply. You breathe more easily. You walk more slowly, yet with greater certainty. Time no longer presses down on you. It becomes a quiet companion. You no longer feel rushed to keep up with anyone. No longer fear being left behind. Because when a cycle closes completely, you do not carry unfinished threads. You do not carry unanswered questions. You carry peace, and that peace makes you appear younger than any effort to hold on to youth ever could. Others may not notice when the change happened. They only see that you no longer react sharply, that you explain less, that you no longer try to prove anything. But you know you have crossed an important threshold. The line between living to fulfill obligations and living with full presence. The line between forcing everything to remain intact and allowing what is finished to close with honor. In a world that moves endlessly fast, choosing to close a cycle gently is a deeply human act. It shows respect for yourself and for those who once walked beside you. You do not turn endings into tragedy. You turn them into completion. And by living this way, you carry a quiet message into the world. That endings are not failures. They are signs of maturity. There are evenings when you sit alone and no longer feel the emptiness you once feared. Instead, there is a wide, quiet space, as if an old room inside you has been cleared, and now light can finally enter. You do not rush to fill it. You simply sit there, breathing, feeling, and within that stillness, something delicate begins to emerge. A new sensitivity, not turned outward, but inward. You begin to hear your inner voice more clearly, not through loud thoughts, but through precise feelings. When to move forward, when to pause, when to trust, and when to wait. As if, after setting down the weight of time, you are handed a compass uniquely your own. It does not guide through logic, but through deep resonance between you and life itself. And you realize that from here on, you no longer need to search for answers. You only need to listen, because something inside you has begun to lead the way. Very gently, very steadily, and very true to the person you are becoming. From that moment on, Libra realizes there is no longer a need to overthink every choice. Not because you have become careless, but because a deep agreement has formed between your emotions, your experiences, and your soul. Everything inside you begins to speak the same language, and you understand it as naturally as breathing. Your intuition is not something new. It has been there for a long time, quietly watching as you tried to rationalize everything, as you searched outside for answers that were always within you. But now, it is different. After laying down old roles, after closing cycles that no longer fit, the space inside you becomes quiet enough for that inner voice to be heard clearly. It does not push. It does not command. It simply suggests, softly, precisely, and that is enough for you to trust it. You begin to feel clearly when it is time to take another step forward, not from ambition, but because there is a gentle opening ahead. You also know when it is time to pause, not from fear, but because your body whispers that there is no need to rush. And there are moments when you let go of something once familiar, not because it was wrong, but because it has completed its role in your life. This kind of precision does not come from pure logic. It comes from harmony between everything you have lived through. Libra's intuition is like a compass polished by time. Every experience, every moment of endurance, every release, helps steady its needle. You are no longer pulled off course by small external forces, by gossip, by invisible pressure, by comparison. You listen, you filter, and you move at your own pace. That pace is not fast, but it is consistent. There is something remarkable that happens when you live by intuition. Your energy changes. You no longer waste strength on decisions that weigh heavy on your heart. You avoid unnecessary cycles, draining connections, choices that move against your deepest knowing. This conservation of energy is what makes you appear younger. Not the youth of appearance, but the youth of someone no longer worn down by inner conflict. Others may notice your calm and find it unusual. They do not see that this calm is built on trust. Trust in yourself. Trust that your feelings matter. Trust that you do not need to explain every decision. Trust that if something does not feel right, you have the right to stop. When you allow yourself to live this way, a very soft confidence appears. It does not need display. It does not seek proof. But it is strong enough to let you stand upright in a constantly shifting world. In a society that teaches people to analyze, to optimize, to chase external standards, Libra's choice to listen to intuition is deeply human. It reminds us that we are not machines built only to decide. That inside every person there is an ancient, quiet intelligence that knows what fits when we are willing to pause and listen. And when you live in alignment with that wisdom, you do more than protect yourself. You radiate a sense of safety to those around you. There are days when nothing extraordinary happens, yet everything feels right. Small choices, unexpected encounters, just enough silence. All of it connects as if gently arranged. You do not need to name it. You only need to feel the relief of no longer moving against the current. And within that flow, you realize you are no longer searching for youth. It is already there. In the way you slow down. In the way you trust your own perception. In the way you walk forward without constantly looking back. And as you continue this way, a gentle permission begins to form inside you. Permission to receive better things. More sustainable things. Things you truly deserve. Naturally. Quietly. In a rhythm that belongs only to you. That permission needs no vow. It does not come from a forceful decision to change who you are. It comes from a quiet ease, when you realize you have stopped resisting your own current. Libra does not need to hold on to youth, because youth never truly left. It only changed form. From sudden innocence to clear calm. From impulsive energy to steady light. You no longer search for youthfulness outside yourself, in approval, or in standards that constantly shift. You recognize that youth is a state of the soul when it is allowed to live in its own rhythm, to be fully cared for, and to have its necessary boundaries respected. There are mornings when you wake up and feel no need to prove anything. You are still diligent, still devoted, but no longer tense. You choose what makes your heart feel light. You say yes when you truly mean it, and you say no when it is necessary, without carrying guilt. This honesty nourishes you from the inside. It calms the nervous system. It softens the lines carved by worry. It brings clarity back to eyes once tired from holding too many balances at once. Libra remains young in a way uniquely your own because you understand the value of deep balance. Not balance to please everyone, but balance that refuses to abandon yourself. When your heart is placed in the right position, life places you in the right places too. Aligned relationships arrive. Opportunities that respect your pace appear. What no longer resonates leaves quietly, without leaving a scar. There is something deeply human in this journey. You do not become perfect. You become real. You allow slow days. You allow pauses. You allow rest without needing a reason. And in a world that constantly urges people to be faster, to be more, to be stronger, that permission is a powerful act of healing. It reminds us that human value is not measured by speed, but by full presence in each lived moment. When you live this way, the body responds with gratitude. It no longer strains to keep up. It rests when rest is needed. It moves when movement is right. Each cell seems to understand that it is being heard. And this listening creates a lasting youthfulness. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable to those sensitive enough to feel it. Libra, you are not growing old. You are maturing in a way that keeps your soul fresh. Nothing you have lived through has taken your light away. It has only made that light deeper, warmer, and more capable of warming others. You do not need to return to the past to find youth. You carry it with you. In the way you walk more gently. In the way you love without losing yourself. In the way you choose balance over extremes. And if there is one final truth to remember, it is this. You are allowed to live in your own rhythm. You are allowed to receive what you deserve. You are allowed to remain young without proving anything to anyone. When you grant yourself that permission, life becomes gentler with you as well. Not because you demanded it, but because you were ready. And in that readiness you continue forward. Slowly, steadily, carrying a youthfulness untouched by time, nourished from the deepest place, the place you have returned to, and chosen to stay in, fully and completely.